This is a quick little video to show you how to start reading the data for the pre-test that was done. Now, not all the students are in here. I think we're just going to have to live with that. It was just too complicated to try and get them in on paper. Hopefully next time we do a pre-test we'll have all the students in automatically. You'll see in this file that there are our classes down the bottom. So you just obviously select your tab to see your class and to see what they are doing. I'll show you my class so that you get an idea as to how things are set up. We've obviously got our names here, and they are ordered in terms of the total number of questions that they either got correct or they got a 1 for. So remember when we marked the other day, we gave them a 1 or a 0. This is a Gutmann chart to some extent, but it's kind of not, because these are just the questions along the top here and whether or not they got the question right or wrong. So you can see that what I've done, and if you look at Shalini's, even though hers is ordered 14 to 3, I haven't grouped them. That's up to you, however you want to group your students. What I decided to do was group the students in pairs based on their score. I'm just going to try this time, putting the good kids together and the kids who need support together. You might want to try pairing a good kid with a kid who needs support, but I'm not too sure what I think about that. But let's experiment and see what works. I think that way you can really concentrate on pushing these kids further with the activities and supporting these kids to get the best out of what they can do. You'll notice that there's all of these numbers here are grouped in yellow. That's because they relate to the first section of learning tasks, which is understanding persuasive techniques. And when I talk about the first section of learning tasks, I'm talking about the product pitch planner, which is in our Year 7 English curriculum. In the product pitch section, my OneNote's broken, so I have to look at it on the internet, but it's in the product pitch section, product pitch planner, and you'll notice that there's understanding persuasive techniques, and then this is what the pre-test was designed around. Can they define them? Can they classify and describe them? Can they identify them in an existing ad? And then can they evaluate the effectiveness of the use of the techniques? So you can see then all the 1.1.1s are all to do with this sort of level, just defining. Then there's classifying and describing, etc. So if you ever want to sort of know what it actually refers to, that's what it refers back to. You can click, you have to actually click your mouse on the cell, and it tells you what the question was that they were answering at the time. So you'll see this one was about, I think it was just a multiple choice. Could they choose one of them that was a persuasive technique? This one was multiple choice with some examples, and they had to select the one that they thought was alliteration, and so on. Okay, so you can always see what the questions were if you need to get a bit more detail as to, well, they got it right, but what is it that they actually got right? You'll notice then down the bottom as well that there's some more percentages, and what this percentage is doing is it's basically counting up all the kids who got this question here right, and then dividing it by the number of kids in the class. So 43% of the kids in the class could identify persuasive techniques from a list. And that way you can start to see, well, in my class, this one here and this one here are the ones that I need to work on first. And this one is trying to get them to look at statistics and logic. And this one here is about explaining so identifying a technique within an advertisement itself. So my kids were generally okay, not, half the class is okay at sort of identifying persuasive techniques when they're just written, but when they're in practice, in situ, in an ad, they have trouble looking at them and identifying them. So that's the data, and that's how it all works. So you've basically got the first section, then you've got application. These ones are about actually making their own ads, and this one was just about how to engage an audience with graphs and images and things like that. So basically I've done most of the formatting for you, and you can identify very easily which questions they had the most trouble with, and then you can also start to group your students however you want in terms of whether you want to put students with certain strengths together or whatever you want to do. So because my computer played up, I don't sort of have I haven't been able to really do a whole lot of differentiation, but essentially what I'm going to try and do is put these kids together as I've grouped them here with these colors, and they're going to run through the same set of activities, but in future I'll probably take away some of the scaffolding for these upper kids and put more scaffolding in for the lower kids. But I think at this point I'm just going to experiment doing that sort of verbally and spending more time in the classroom with these students. I might even think about grouping these students sort of in one area of the classroom so I can remember which group they are. And because the kids sort of have no real sense as to who's for want of a better word, smart and who needs help, I don't think they'll work out just yet what these groups necessarily are. They're not really, any of these kids aren't really friends, but it's not as if they're not friends either. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works. So good luck with it, and that's how you read the data.